Hi, Ted. I thought I'd come and sit next to you and have a cuddle. Is that okay? Oh, great. And you've got a book to read. Oh, The Enchanted Wood. The girls told you that? Really? They wanted to hear the next story? Okay, let's find the next story and read the next story. We're up to one called The Battle of the Bears. Oh my goodness. Now, can we remember what happened last time? Last time, they went to a little cottage in the woods, the cottage of Goldilocks and the three bears. And I seem to remember that Moonhouse did some magic and took them to the land of ice and snow because Joe was stuck there. All right, so I'm going to read this story. It's very long. I might just leave the picture with you girls. Goldilocks and the three bears and the girls and Moonface all went out of the little cottage. How strange it seemed to see roses blooming over the walls when ice and snow lay all around. The thing is, where do we go to find the polar bears? Said Goldilocks. Over there, towards the sun, said Father Bear. Bessie and Franny were surprised to see both the moon and the sun shining in the sky. They followed the Father Bear, slipping and sliding and holding on to one another. It was very cold and their noses and their toes felt as if they were freezing. Suddenly they saw the little snow house that Joe had built for the magic snowman. Oh, I can see Moonface falling over there. This looks like a big battle going on here. Look, said Father Bear, we better make for there. But before they got there, a big white figure squeezed itself out of the snow house and saw them. It was the magic snowman. As soon as he saw the three bears and the others, he began to shout loudly in a windy, snowy voice. Enemies, enemies! Hey, bears, come and send off the enemies. We're not enemies, yelled Moonface, and Goldilocks ran forward to show the snowman that she was a little girl. But Moonface pulled her back. He did not trust that old snowman. The snowman bent his big fat body down and picked up great big handfuls of snow. He threw one at Goldilocks. She ducked down and it passed over her and hit Baby Bear. Ouch, he cried, and he sat down in a hurry. Then everything happened at once. A crowd of white bears and polar bears hurried out of their underground homes to help the snowman, and soon the air was full of flying snowballs. The snow was hard and the balls hurt when they hit. It wasn't a bit good, the girls shouting that they were friends, not enemies. Nobody heard them, and soon there was a fierce battle going on. Whoa, I can see that fierce battle. Oh, look at the girls and the three bears and poor Moonface getting knocked over. Oh dear, gasped Bessie, trying her best to throw straight against this dreadful. This is dreadful. We shall never rescue Joe by behaving like this. But there really didn't seem anything else to be done. After all, if people are fighting you, you can't do much but defend yourself. And the three bears and the girls and Moonface felt very angry at having hard snowballs thrown at them. Smack! Thud! Biff! Squish! The snowballs burst when they hit, and soon there was a great noise of angry oomphs from the white bears and ouches from the teddy bears and yells from the children and screeches from Moonface, who acted as if he was mad, hopping about and yelling and kicking up the snow as well as throwing it. His big fat face was a fine target for snowballs, and he was hit more than anyone else. Poor Moonface. Now, whilst this fierce battle was going on, where do you suppose Joe was? As soon as he had heard a cry of enemies, enemies. He had hidden in a corner, for he didn't want to be mixed up in any fight. When he saw the white bears going out, and he was left all alone, he began all at once to think of a way to escape. He crept to the hole that led above ground. The battle was some way off, so Joe did not see that the enemies were really his own friends. If he had, he would have gone to join them. What a terrible noise they're all making, he thought. It sounds like a battle between gorillas and bears to me. I'm not going near them. I'm going to be eaten up or something. I shall just run hard the opposite way and hope that I meet someone who can help me. So Joe, dressed in his bearskin and looking like a little white bear himself, crept off over the ice and snow, not seen by anyone. He ran as soon as he thought he was out of sight. He ran and he ran and he ran and he ran. But he met nobody. Not a soul was to be seen. Only a lonely seal lay on a shelf of ice. But even he dived below when he saw Joe. And then Joe stopped in the greatest astonishment and stared as if his eyes would fall out of his head. He had come to the cottage of the 3 bears, standing in the middle of ice and snow. And of course its roses were still blooming and smelling like roses in the air. I must be dreaming, thought Joe. I simply must be dreaming. A cottage with roses? Here? In the middle of the snow? Well, I shall go and see who lives there. Perhaps they will give me something to eat and something to rest, for I'm really hungry and really tired. So he knocked at the door, but there was no answer. So he opened the door and went in. And he stared. There was no one at all to be seen. But on the table stood 3 bowls of hot, steaming porridge. 1 big bowl, 1 middle-sized bowl, and 1 small bowl. It was rather dark, so Joe lit a big candle on the table. Then he sat in the biggest chair, but it was far too big, so he got up again. And he sat in the middle-sized chair, but that was too piled up with cushions, so he got up to sit in the smallest chair. And that was just right. So Joe settled comfortably down, but alas, he was too heavy for it, and the chair broke to bits beneath him. Oh, Ted, this reminds me of a different story. You know the story of the 3 bears and Goldilocks? Reminds me of that story. He looked at the delicious porridge. He tasted the biggest bowl. It was too hot. It burnt his tongue. He tasted the next bowl. That was too sweet. But then he tasted the little bowl, and it was just right. So he ate it all up. Then he felt so sleepy that he thought he really must rest. So he went into the bedroom and lay down in the biggest bed. But it was far too big. So he tried the middle-sized one. That was too soft. And he went into the middle. He sank in the middle of it. So Joe lay down in the cot, the smallest bed. And that was small and warm and comfortable, and he fell fast asleep. All this time the battle kept going on. The snowman was so big and the polar bears were so fierce that very soon the teddy bears and the children and Moonface were driven backwards. Oh my goodness, look what's going to happen now. Oh, I can see Baby Bear. And they're looking at the candle. Then a snowstorm blew up, and the snow fell so thickly that it was quite impossible to see anything. Moonface called out in alarm, Bears! Goldilocks! Bessie! Franny! Take hold of each other's hands at once, and don't let go. One of us might be lost in this snowstorm. Everyone at once took hold of hands. The snow blew into their faces, and they could not see anything. Bending forwards, they began to walk carefully away from the white bears, who had stopped fighting now and were trying to find out where their enemies were. Don't say anything, said Moonface. We don't want the white bears to hear us, in case they might take us prisoners. They might not listen to the teddy bears. Move off and we'll look for some place of shelter in all this storm. They were all really miserable. They were cold, all frightened and lost. They scrambled over the snow, keeping hold of each other's hands. They went on, and suddenly Goldilocks shook Moonface's hand and pointed in front of her. "A light," she said in astonishment. Everyone stopped. I say, it's our cottage," shrieked Baby Bear in surprise and delight. "But who's inside? Someone must have lit the candle." They all stared at the lit window. Who was inside the cottage? We know, don't we? We know who it is. Could it be the magic snowman? Or the polar bears? Was it an enemy inside or a friend? Whee! The wind blew and the snowflakes fell thickly on everyone as they stood there wondering. "Oh," shivered Moonface, "we shall get a dreadful cold standing out here in the snow. Let's go in and find out who's there." So Father Bear opened the door, and one by one they all stopped when they looked in the house at the empty room, half afraid. Oh, they do look a little bit afraid. And that's the end of that story. And the next one's called More and More Surprises.